Yes, everybody, welcome back. My name is Stephen Howson, and this is 5 things that we learned watching United beat Brighton at Old Trafford. First things first then, second half FC returns. So, United have been 2 things this season. Pretty good away from home, pretty good in the second half. Let's hope that we can be good in the second half away from home more often than not. In the first half, United didn't look like a team. Actually, in the first 10 minutes, United looked like we started really brightly. But as soon as Brighton scored and then went into a low block, United just fell to pieces. It's something that we just could not cope with. Brighton looked like they were the better side. They looked like when they attacked and when they chose to attack, they was dangerous. And when they chose to defend, they looked like they wasn't going to concede. And although it was a far from perfect second half performance, business picked up after the break. United completed the turnaround to claim all 3 points, which obviously is the most important thing. And we've done that a lot of times this term. Not only have we done it a lot of times this term, we've actually gained 25 points from losing positions in the Premier League this season, which is 5 more than Leicester, who are second, or 9 more than Leicester, who are second in that particular metric. Our ability to turn around games is uncanny. And it's definitely a trait that's a good trait to have. Tottenham have got the inverse on that. They've lost the most points from winning positions, which has got to be even more frustrating. At least your team shows fight and willingness to come back, and that's obviously a good thing. But we have to stop being in the losing positions to begin with. We have to learn how to start matches well. Although, in the grand scheme of things, is finishing well better than starting well? Probably is, really, isn't it? Number 2, Henderson is number 1. So last night was always going to throw up the debate, the topic, refocus, everything that was going on in terms of who is the current number 1 goalkeeper. Is it David De Gea or is it Dean Henderson? It was Henderson's 7th straight start and the first time De Gea has been on the bench for 3 consecutive games for almost a decade. Henderson showed us a pretty solid performance. Not amazing by any stretch of the imagination. It was unlucky to concede after making a really good save to deny Danny Welbeck's initial header. But since the 3-3 draw with Everton, United haven't conceded more than 1 goal in any of the 7 games that he's been involved in, which is huge. Any of the 7 league games that he's been involved in. It did feel a little bit like a changing of the guard moment when the team news came out. And I wonder if it does mean that De Gea's in the sticks for the Europa League game later this week. And again, it throws it back into focus. What's going to happen when that's the case? What's going to happen? And for me, Dean Henderson signed a contract pretty recently. There's all this talk about De Gea. The performances of De Gea don't match up to a keeper that deserves to be starting for Manchester United. So for me, it's quite straightforward, this. You pick your man and you go with it. Now, there's more to it than that, as there always is. There's a lot more politics involved in that. How are United going to deal with getting rid of De Gea if that's what they want to do? There was all sorts of rumours coming out around that sort of talk this weekend. There's way more of this to play out, but I think as it stands right now, number 1, Dean Henderson. Number 3, Greenwood's goal milestone. So Mason Greenwood hasn't had the season he had last season. He's not been producing the numbers like he was in his big breakthrough campaign. But the development in his game has been really encouraging to see. He looked bright and lively and fit and energetic, I thought, against Brighton. And he's now starting to find the net again. He scored in successive games for the first time this season after scoring against Leicester the last time out. And he's now been directly involved in 30 goals with 23 goals and 7 assists since the start of last season, which is a hell of an achievement for a 19-year-old. Hopefully he continues to get starts under his belt and now the rest of the season, particularly as a number 9. And I'm hearing little talks that Cavani has started to take him under his wing. Cavani's tried to take some of the other forwards under his wing at United and hasn't had quite as much success in their desire to do so. But Mason Greenwood is one that he's took under his wing, and I honestly couldn't think of a better guy to be mentoring Mason Greenwood. If you want a fox in a box, if you want to learn that striker instinct, I'll never forget listening to Ian Wright talk about how he would learn the runs. I think it was Mark Bright was a guy he learned off. Someone at Crystal Palace anyway, when he was first there, was teaching him the art of the centre forward, and he said you never get taught that, and he remembers getting taught specifically that. And I think that's something that it's a proper art form that you need someone to really work with one-to-one. So I'm very happy that Cavani's reached out and decided to do that for Mason, because honestly, there's not many better people in the world football that could do that. And I think that the physique of Cavani is more just an older, more manly version of what Mason Greenwood is. He could easily go into a similar sort of frame. The techniques there from Mason. He could do everything that Cavani had in his game, and this is a striker that scored literally hundreds of goals across his career. It's a fantastic person for him to learn from. So hopefully he can add that to his game. Hopefully Cavani sticks around long enough to have an impact on that as well. You don't need long, but he needs longer than he's had. And maybe we start to see a real predatory number 9 sort of emerge from Mason Greenwood. Number 4, 100 appearances for Maguire. Maguire gets a lot of bad press, and I think a lot of it's unfair because of United's erratic defending. I think he's been a very solid part of United's defence. I don't think he's perfect. I think that he has to cover for other people's errors a lot, which leaves him being the guy that looks like he's been out of position. But more often than not, his position is decent. He's solid on the ball, and I think he's a good player. He's obviously not Jaap Stam, he's not Rio Ferdinand, he's not Vidic. Those are the barometers that we should have for centre-halves, but he's the best of what we've currently got at the moment. The fact that he's made 100 appearances for the length of time that he's been here is ridiculous. Now, he's level on appearances with Eric Bailly, who arrived in 2016. He did put in a solid shift on his 100th appearance. He won 100% of his aerial duels and 100% of his tackles. He also had 84% pass accuracy, 6 clearances, 4 ball recoveries, and 3 interceptions. Maguire's got a PR issue, if anything. The slabhead thing sort of followed him through from England, and it was endearing, but it was also a bit of a ridicule kind of thing. And I think whatever happened in Greece has probably affected his performance to a certain degree, and the changing, evolving form of United's style of play, I think, is a bit of an issue for us. But I think he is a solid player. I think with a proper, physically aggressive centre-half alongside him that can play as many games as he does, I think you'd start to see a real partnership form. I think he suffers by being the one that is consistent while everyone around him changes. Barely missed a game for United. It's an incredible achievement. And finally, is that top 4 secured? There's 8 games to go. We're 11 points inside the top 4 now. You would think that this United team averages a good 2 points per game, which means that they're probably not going to drop enough points for anyone else to come and massively, certainly not a load of teams to come and take that off us. I think people probably being a bit giddy if they think this is wrapped up already. We've still got some very tough fixtures where we could absolutely come out with nil points. We've got Liverpool, Leicester, Tottenham, Leeds, Villa, Wolves. United are definitely capable of dropping points individually in every one of them games. Collectively, probably not in every one of them games, but certainly individually in every single one of those games. And it seems that every team appears to be dropping points for fun. Liverpool have made a right charge lately, find themselves in 6th, albeit with teams with games in hand behind them. But they did that on the back of 2 wins. This is such a tight top 4, such a topsy-turvy season. I reckon if you lose that game against Tottenham at weekend, the conversation gets blown right wide open again. But I reckon 2 more wins, and it's pretty much secured for United. Especially if you're able to pick those wins up against Liverpool, Leicester, Tottenham. I think if you can pick up those games as wins, you've secured it. And certainly wouldn't be calling that success, because everyone likes to make it a binary thing. Is it success or failure? Is it one of those? Well, it would if it's a binary, it would go in the success column. In reality, it's an acceptable season. It's not successful, it's acceptable. There's difference. So let's build on it. I just don't have the confidence that the board are going to build on it. I could see us signing a couple of players. I can't see us signing. It's not even about signing star players. I don't care for star players. If you can identify someone, which is what you would hope professional scouts at a football club are able to do, is to go and identify someone that improves your 11. That's how you should be getting better. It's not necessarily that you go and find someone who, like, you get a Messi in as a right winger because he's gone like this. You improve your team by eliminating your weaknesses constantly. Who's the weak spot? Eliminate it. Get it out of there. Because that's how you win football matches. You constantly improve your weakest player. United's weakest player is the lack of right winger. If we go through another summer without getting a right winger, it tells you everything that you need to know about the attitude of this board and excellence, as in they don't give a shit about it. Right then, thank you guys for tuning in. Non-league football is back. Grassroots football is back. Stretford Paddock are back. I've got 2 videos for you to go and watch. Pick one of them and go watch them. We have done a documentary looking at academy players that have fell out of the clubs and the mental impact that goes on around that. It's a very good video. Check that out if you want. Or we've got our highlights from our first game back this weekend. It did not necessarily go to plan. Maybe you'll have to see how we got on, but the highlights for that are here. Go and check those out. We are now in a knockout cup competition. It's a bit like the Champions League, but obviously shitter. There's a load of groups. You got to get through the group by winning it or coming second. Then there's a quarters, a semi, and a final. Come and follow the journey over on the Stretford Paddock YouTube. I'll see you in a bit. Laters.